Would you please welcome
Here
Marc
he is.
Fennell?
They're amazing.
Yeah.
Hey, congrats on the podcast. We hear that you've been percolating on this for a long time.
Yeah, I'm a weirdo, so I keep a notepad. For years, I've just been keeping a notepad filled with, like, strange moments in history. It's kind of started with stuff the British style, because I just get sent these things from people being like, oh, this moment, you should cover this moment. And I was flicking through it a couple of months ago, and I realised that there was this trend, right, this trend where there are all of these invisible moments in history that actually, when you look back at them, they change the world. But at the time, no one saw them coming. And that's
like the printing press.
Yes, exactly.
So you've just got a notebook that you're just writing weird historical facts in?
Literally, yes.
What's the weirdest thing in the notebook?
The weirdest historical fact, or just the weirdest thing I've ever written?
Well, let's do both. Why not?
Okay, so the weirdest historical fact is, this is actually where the podcast started. I wrote, giant lizard monster is why we have Ozempic. So you know the weight loss...
shaming a lizard monster.
Well, yes and no. So these amazing life-changing weight loss drugs, the way the human body works is that when you're full, there's a chemical in your system that sends out things saying you're full, you're done, right? Now, we've known this for a long time, and they actually tried just injecting it into people for decades, and it only lasts for about an hour. And then they came across this giant lizard monster in Arizona that had that substance in its system, and it lasts for days and days and days and days. And they use that as the basis to make Ozempic and all these other drugs that have changed people's lives.
So if somebody found your notebook on a train, they would think these are the ramblings of a madman.
Well, to come to your second one, the weirdest thing I've ever written is just, why? I found it a couple of months ago. I was cleaning out my office and I looked at it and went, why did I write that? And I remembered the reason I wrote it was because a couple of years ago, I was making this podcast series in America about the race to breed the world's hottest chili. And I'd visited this guy and I kid you not, he had taken me into his secret chili lab, which is a thing, and he'd given me an unreleased chili called Pepper X. And the thing about it was that I ate it and it was hot and I was like, OK, this is fine, whatever. But what he did not warn me about was that its effects are delayed.
The follow-through.
And so 20 minutes later, 20 minutes after interviewing this guy, going, it's not that bad, I'm driving down a freeway in South Carolina and suddenly I can see through space and time. I pull into like a Jumbo Juice or something and I walk and go, water! And then I realise I'm an Australian in America. They don't know what water means. So I'm like, water!
It's that tea.
Yeah, water. And I had to pull over and I remember, because I write everything down, just writing, why? So that's the weirdest thing I've written.
Oh, my God.
Lots of amazing stories in this particular podcast. One I'd like to just hone in on for a second is in episode 3 and the glow-up of the potato.
Yeah.
Could you give us a little quick synopsis of that?
So, as a half-Irish person, I have a deep, abiding love of the potato. But when potatoes first arrived in Europe, they honestly didn't trust it because they're originally from South America. And when they rocked up, they thought it would cause leprosy because it looked a bit like leprosy. They also thought it was not of God because there's no references to the potato in the Bible. Therefore, it must be satanic, is the logic. And so what actually happened was he was a French guy. This French guy decided, well, he didn't decide. He was kept prisoner in Russia for a long time where they fed them potatoes because that's what you feed the prisoners. It's not good food. But he lived there for 7 years and came out and went, I've eaten nothing but potato. I'm not going to do the French accent. I thought about it, but I'm not going to do it. I came out of the French prison. I'm fine. Perhaps potato. It became Russian.
I liked it.
So he goes on this mission to convince people that potatoes are OK. And the way he does it is he throws these parties. He throws parties for nobility and royalty, and he feeds them nothing but potatoes in France. And at one of these parties, it is said, Marie Antoinette, the famous French queen, she took a shine to the potato. She even started wearing potato flowers in her hat, and that is one of the reasons why potatoes... Now, you can't go anywhere in Europe without seeing a potato dish, and you can kind of pinpoint that moment as the turning point in the history of the potato.
Wow.
My job is weird.
I love it,
My job
though.
is very strange.
It's so good.
I wonder how history will be shaped by Mark's Russian accent. Mark, you're a loving dad, and I'm curious to know now that you're this big-time podcaster, does this sort of up the stakes in bedtime storytelling?
Oh, yeah.
Like, if it's not a great, amazing yarn, do they go, get disappointed?
Well, you can distract them with fun accents, I've discovered. No, I think whether I'm working on a podcast or a TV show like Stuff the British Style, I do always keep in the back of my mind, can my kids watch this? I'm not making kids television, but I do want stories that changed. I want to do stories that change the way families see the past, because it's our children that kind of inherit the future, and if you don't understand where you've come from, it's kind of hard to know what your roots are. So in some ways I do actually think about it differently.
That was a beautiful answer, Mark. You should be in storytelling.
Okay, now do it in that weird accent you did before.
In Soviet Russia, children raised as you. I know, the guy was French. It makes no sense to be doing it that way.
The podcast is wonderful. It's called No One Saw It Coming. You can find it wherever you get your podcasts. Would you please thank the wonderful Marc Fennell?